Hello, my name is Patty Whitcomb, and for this portion of our presentation, I am going to be talking about social styles, and that is how individuals perceive us via our behavior. Social style refers to the you that other people experience based on how you act. So it's not how we perceive ourselves, but purely based on the observation of others. And there are four basic styles that each of us fall into, and that is driver, expressive, amiable, and analytic. The social style model was developed by Dr. James W. Taylor, and it pertains to learning because the way individuals interact with each other has an influence on how people learn. Learning the four basic social styles helps interpret other people's behavior more accurately. This helps each of us choose the best way to communicate and interact with other people in order to have a more favorable outcome. The social styles assessment works in two parts. There is a self-test and a peer test, and both tests are the same, so I'll talk about that first. Essentially, there's a series of boxes that create this giant grid on a sheet of paper, and within each box there are four adjectives. And for the self-test, you have to choose the adjective in each box that best you think reflects you. And then for the peer test, they do the same for you, but you choose three people, hopefully in three kind of different areas of your life where they come from. So they're not just three friends or three coworkers. Hopefully you have a mix. And they test you on the same assessment. From that, you total up each box per sheet, and then you score everything and find out which is your dominant social style. Then you see how the other three styles fall behind. So you can see what is your backup style, what's your third style, and then what's like your least dominant style. The first social style that we'll talk about today is the driver, and these are the people that love to take charge. So on the screen you will see a list of traits commonly seen in the driver style. This type is led by the task at hand rather than how they feel about it. They're not relationship driven. They seek accomplishments over personal relationships, and they know how to get things done. Also, they are somebody that tells instead of asks. That's the first bullet that I put. And that's important to note as we go through the three styles. So you'll notice some people tell and some people ask. The second style that we'll talk about is the expressive social style. And this style is sometimes called the life of the party, kind of as denoted by their name, expressive. They know how to express themselves. They're great at meeting people in new situations. They're great at brainstorming, coming up with ideas, and being creative. They're not afraid to change their mind, which is sometimes a good thing and sometimes not such a good thing, depending on whatever the situation is. As I said earlier, they're great at meeting new people, but sometimes they come across as not being sincere. And that's not to say that they're insincere people, but that's just how they're perceived. Next is the amiable style, which is a notch or two down from expressive. Rather than maybe the life of the party, they're the people that everybody likes, but they don't make a big fuss, and then maybe they're not the center of attention. This type of person is more likely to ask you for something rather than telling you what to do, as I was talking about kind of the tells versus ask before. They're known for making people feel comfortable and very easy to talk to. Rather than being led by tasks or personal recognition, they're led by relationships and how they feel about them. They seek to have harmonious relationships and to keep the peace, and they'd prefer to minimize risk at all costs. Okay, our fourth and final style is the analytic style. And individuals with this dominant style like data and facts. They seek to be right, and they take as much time as they need to get there. They focus on the method and the details. They ask questions and ask questions and ask questions in order to dig at the answer that they're trying to get. Where maybe an expressive just wants the high points and just kind of give me the vision and kind of the high level what's going on. An analytic is going to want to know the ins and the outs. Sometimes they're mistaken for being cold and detached, but again, that's not necessarily how they are. That's just, again, how they initially come off. Some important things to note about social style is that no one person is just one style. For instance, when I took this assessment, my dominant style was amiable, but I had pretty high driver and expressive, so those were actually tied. So I'm a dominant amiable, and then I'm kind of a secondary expressive driver, and then my least was analytic. So, you know, don't give me any details, basically. That was a joke. And also that no one style is better than the other. Just like the other personality assessments that we're talking about today, it takes all kinds, and this just harkens that point. So in terms of this whole presentation that we're putting together today of how we learn, social styles help us learn because through learning these 4 styles, we can better communicate and interact by knowing what others need. If you are communicating with a driver, then it's maybe best to get to the point. Conversely, with an amiable, you know, take the time to ask how their day is going. You know, maybe rather than commanding them to do something, maybe ask them to do something. And expressive, you know, you can just have a party with them. Flexing to social styles different from our own may sound exhausting on the onset, you know, like, geez, you know, why can't I just be, you know, friendly and polite and, you know, ask for what I need to ask? But it really will pay off if you take the time to acknowledge that others have different styles from you. If you attempt even to flex to their style, even in a small way, I promise that your odds of having a more favorable and productive outcome will increase. Okay. So this is it for my portion of the presentation. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, you can always email me. My email address is whitcomb@gonzaga.edu. Thanks a lot.